Big Gamer out here. How are you guys doing today? I'm super. Thanks for asking. So, PlayStation VR is out now, and like most other people, I've been spending a lot of my time playing PlayStation VR Worlds and playing The Descent and VR Luge and Danger Ball and all that other good stuff. But one thing that I did notice is there's a game out as part of the launch lineup that no one seems to be covering, and that is a game that I happen to have picked up on launch day, which was Loading Human, which is Chapter 1, which I do believe has been previously on Steam, but it is part of the PSVR launch lineup, so I thought I'd take a look at it. And I'm surprised that no one's been covering it really, because it's a great example of a real VR feeling game. And what I mean by that is it really gives you a sense of place. You can use the move controllers, and that is what I would recommend, guys, and they literally replicate your hands in game. And it's quite interesting because it asks you to kind of measure yourself, and it calibrates very accurately your body. And you can literally look down at your hands and your legs and your chest and all the rest of it. And what I do like is something I didn't really get from some of the third-person games, things like VR Luge, is when you're in a first-person game, you really get that feeling of you're in the environment, because you can look at yourself in a mirror or your hands and stuff like that, similar to the Batman VR. And it gives you a real sense of virtual reality. And I thought that was really impressive. But one thing that it's done that I don't think a lot of people have really focused on yet is, rather than using a stick to walk around and rather than teleporting like they're talking about using in Fallout VR or Skyrim VR, it actually has a system where you kind of, wherever you're facing, by holding down a button, you can kind of walk in that direction. Now that kind of make you a little bit queasy at first until you get used to it. But by combining that with, you might have to cast your mind back, guys, to Resident Evil 4 and how it allowed you to do quick turns using the stick and a button. Well, this has a similar thing. Like if you were to point a move controller behind you and tap the button rather than hold it, you can kind of turn 180 degrees. And also, by moving one arm out to the side, almost like you're giving a direction in your car or something, you can literally turn at a right angle. And that allows you, rather than kind of walking along slowly and tilting your head side to side and kind of turning in a slow arc, it allows you, if you're under pressure and you're trying to get something done in game, to turn quite quickly. And the combination of the two things allows you to move in first person. And it has quite a lengthy tutorial, and I didn't like the tutorial. I thought it was kind of a bit finicky and it was very, very long. But what that does allow you to do is, by the time you get into the game, you feel very, very comfortable with the way you're moving around the environment. I would say stick with it, guys, and if you pick the game up, get through the tutorial. Don't let it phase you, because once you actually get into the game, it's super intuitive and it's very fast paced, and it kind of really lends itself to this kind of adventure game. And that brings me to the next thing. This is an adventure game. This is not dissimilar to kind of games that Telltale put out, where a lot of these are exploration, solving puzzles, interacting with the environment, but it's much more hands-on. And the puzzles are much more intuitive, because it's actually a case of, I'm actually going to look around this environment and the objects I'm going to find actually make sense. It's not going to be a rubber chicken, guys. This isn't Monkey Island. You're actually going to find objects that will help you in the environment. So it might be an item to wedge open a door, or something to a key card to unlock a panel. By kind of taking in what's around you in your environment and keeping your eyes open, it really helps solve the puzzles, and I found that really, really helpful. And what I would say is, this game gives you a proper single player experience on launch day. So a lot of people are saying, well, this game's great, I can play on my own, but it's not very long. This game's really only to play with other people, like Riggs or Eve Valkyrie and stuff like that. But what this gives you is a single player experience that you're not going to blow through in an hour. It's going to take you a good few hours to get through this, especially if you're like me and you spend a long time in the tutorial, or you get stuck on the odd puzzle. It's going to take you a good few hours to blow through this, and it's something you're going to be able to immerse yourself in as a single person. And it's quite funny just to kind of mess around in the game as well. Like the objects, not dissimilar to Job Simulator. You can kind of pick up and mess around with objects in the environment. You can do little dances. You can kind of entertain yourself while you're in there. That does lead to one of the drawbacks of the game, which is it occasionally can glitch out a little bit your kind of character model. For instance, at one point I was holding the controls in the wrong hands, and my hands were kind of blended into each other, and I kind of looked like a weird, demented mannequin rather than a human being for a while there. So there is some kind of weird body physics stuff that can go on if it doesn't track you properly. But this is not the kind of silliness we saw with Kinect, for instance. This is Literally a case of, you doing something silly like crossing the controllers over, or literally standing in weird ways. So yeah, the only other drawback I can think of is when you're moving around. Obviously, for the first kind of, I would say, 10 minutes or something, moving around without moving your feet does feel weird, and it can make you feel a little giddy. But I think if you're looking for a good single player experience on launch day, for about $30, if you can find it for that, I'm assuming the retail price is close to $35 or $40, but I got it for kind of sub $30. So if you can pick it up for that price and you want a proper real VR experience, something for yourself, something to get into, not just something to show off to friends, then this is your best bet at the moment, guys. And for a good real VR feel, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It does have a couple of drawbacks, but the overall experience has made kind of launch day much more worth it for me. And I'm really looking forward to Chapter 2 of Loading Human, and I certainly hope this is a success for these guys, because I'd certainly like to play some more. Alright, thanks guys. If you want me to bring you more reviews and more VR content, leave a comment, like and subscribe. Cheers.